Okay, we're up to Daf Yomi Sukkah. The segue into we were figuring out that mechitza is 10 tefachim high. We learned it out from the fact that by the Aron it says that the kruvim were parshek in the final lamaila. The kruvim, they were spreading their wings above. Soichachim b'chanfeim. Lashon of soichin, lashon of schach b'chanfeim, with their wings they were covering it. That was the opinion of. So we said we made a cheshbon that the Aron was nine tefachim high. The kaparas was 10, and an additional 10 because it's 60-20. And so we had that there was chaychim. The Gemara said that's very good according to Rabbi, who says that by the kalim of the Beis Hamikdash, you go ahead and you ascertain based upon the 6 tefachim to an amma. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's 5 tefachim to an amma. So you'd only have 8.5, and you'd have a space of 11.5. Again, you need it to 20. So 11.5 plus 8.5 is 20. So where would Rabbi Yehuda know the share of what? Of mechitza? So the Gemara said that it's halacha Moshe Sinai. He doesn't learn it from a pasuk. It was Messiah that he had halacha Moshe Sinai. So that's where we're up to. We're up to hey, right? Hey. So you recording? Yeah. So it says. Starting from Heyamid Beis, about 6 lines up. Shiurim, the halachas of shiurim, chatzitzim, the halachas of chatzitza. When you go to Mitoivel, go to the mikvah, the halachas of chatzitza, umachitzin. That's what we need. The halachas of mechitza. Those all are halacha l'Moshe Misinai. So therefore, that's where he knows the 10 tefachim and mechitza 10 tefachim. He knows the word from halacha Moshe Misinai. Now the Gemara digresses totally to discuss all these 3 areas. We had this Gemara in the Sefta Erevin, total digression away from Sukkah. It says the Gemara, halacha Moshe Misinai, shurim deraisa ninu, shurim l'chayr is deraisa. We know in the Devarim Ches, pasuk Ches, the very famous pasuk, the Paris that Eretz Yisrael is what is Shtabeach, that is praised. What does it say? Eretz chita soira, gefen uteina, verimoin eitz zayis shemen udavash. So ba'amar Rav Chanin, kol pasuk azel l'shiurim. All this pasuk is said for the purpose of the shiurim. All this pasuk is said for the purpose of shiurim. Nema chita. Why does it say the shear of? What is wheat used for? That's used for the Beis Hamanuga, to a house that had a tzaras in it. Did none. Hanichnis the Beis Hamanuga. Someone walks into a house that is a kretz that has a kretz, and I guess it has a Steve. What do you say in New Orleans? A kretz is exactly. That's exactly. It's right. It's exactly right. It's a plague in the house. It's tzaras in the house. He said you come from the house of the rising sun. Oh, a little bit chaos. You know, it's the best Torah you said in years. Anyway, so go on, you're on top. No, it was good, huh? Anyway, did not. Anichnas the Beis Hamanuga. Why do you guys all know that? Anichnas the Beis Hamanuga, the Kalev al Kasef. If someone goes into the house with tzaras and he has he's carrying his clothing on his shoulder, the sandalov and his sandals, the taboisav and his rings. Biyadai, he has them all in his hands, so he's not wearing them. Hu v'hein tmeim miyad. As soon as he walks in, without delaying at all, they're tamei. It says Rashi about Rashi, tmeim miyad beloy shehiyah, without delaying. Dichsiv v'haboel abayis yitma v'kula boel abayis karinam. This is called coming into the house. So the person's carrying a knapsack and he has his clothing in, and he walks in the house right away, and his knapsack, whatever's in his knapsack is tamei. Is tummy right away, instantaneously. Who lavish kalov, if he's wearing his kalim, if he's wearing them, the sandal of beraglov, and he's wearing his shoes, the taboisav betzboisav, and his rings are on his fingers, then hu tame miyad, the tame immediately, the hein tahirim at sheyish shoya b'chdei achilas pras, and the kalim atar until he delays in the house the share of what of time it takes to eat a pras that's 4 beitzim. And paschitin, pas that comes from wheat, loy pas soirin, and not pas soirin. So in other words, it's easier to eat wheat bread than barley bread, and therefore the zman would take you to eat a pras, 4 eggs of wheat bread. That's the shear, the amount of time that you have to wait in the house for the clothing that you're carrying to become tamei. Now it's interesting. What's the difference in wearing the clothing and carrying the clothing? right? So because the pasuk says, if you look at the top line, guys, Hayalovish Kalev, Rashi answers the question. The ikri lehu begodov. It's called his begodim. In other words, in order to be tamei, it's not pshat. It has to be a pair of pants. It has to be his pants. He has to be wearing the pants. If he's carrying the pants, it's not begodov. And the pasuk says that it's who begodov the tamei. So he's carrying it and not wearing it. In Yiddish, das heißt nicht kein beged. Halachically, it's a beged. Of course, it's a beged. Pants are pants. But if you're not wearing them, a ring is a ring. But if you're not wearing it, it's not linyan tuma. It's not considered wearing, and only what he's wearing that's on it is tummy. It's a very again. There's a whole big Rashi over here to go ahead and explain why this is and why there's this distinction. And this is the shear that the Chacham said is for one is would be the amount of time. Now, again, I don't know if this is true. We spoke at a wonderful Maretz Chias, guys. If you remember, we're in share that the halacha l'Moshe Sinai is they had such shiurim where to apply him to. The Chacham came out with, and the Rabbi was in the Mordechai. There's something called a share of base chilas pass. They Chacham applied it to the base meluga, not to Hilchos Shabbos. That would fit in very nicely over here. We know from the pasuk that there's a distinction between what you're wearing and what you're not wearing. That distinction, how long it takes, based upon the Maretz Chias, would be a very geschmack. If he walks in again, so he's tamei.
He jumps out, right?
He's tamei.
He's tamei.
Yes. The clothing that's on him would be tamei as well. Yes, but if the clothing that he's carrying, you have to wear until he waits to share. It's the clothing that he's carrying. Right? The opposite. You're right. The clothing. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So he's tamei, but his clothing's not. So Rav Chaim Briska, I have written over here. Rav Chaim Briska in Hilchos Tumas Tzaras Perek Tezayin Halacha Hey brings the raya from here, and it's very good based upon what Mordechai is saying. Is that usually when you associate tumah, you associate connection. Your tummy. Why is something tummy? Because you touch something that's tummy, right? So you would always think that Mitzvah, why are you clothing tamei? Because you're wearing it. You see, it's not true. You see, the tumah of the Godim says Rechayim comes as a result of Mela. It comes from the outside. Why? Because you're jumping out, right? Exactly. And you're wearing it and you're touching it, but it's still not tamei. Why? So you see, Rechayim brings a beautiful raya over here that the tumah of begodim doesn't have to do with the fact you're wearing them. It has to do with the tumah comes from Mela from being in the house from the outside. So I think your illustration illustrates the point very well. It's good, very good. Anyway, so who you love is Caleb. Sadala Baragla B'Taboisa Betzboisav. Who Tamei Miyad Rav Vav Amid Aleph. The Hin to Hayrim Achi Yishab B'Teachilas Pras Paschitim V'Lei Pasayrin Mesiv while he's lying down. He used to lie down eating for Oichel B'Lifton eating with some type of dip. So now, okay, that's the share of Chita. Now Soira again, total digression. We said Allah Moshe Sinai, so we say it's a pasuk. It's no Soira did nan etzim kisoira mitame b'maga ubemasa ve'ina mitame ba'oil. We throughout our travels we've seen in order for bones to transmit to oil, you need roiv golgoiles or shidra or roiv binyan or minyan. Most of them you need most of the bones, majority of the bones, or the ones that give the height. That would be mitama. Tumis oil. Tumis maga, etzim kisoira. Tumis maga, etzim kisoira. So that's what we learned from the word soira. Okay. Geffen, what's the share of geffen? Today, revius yayin l'nazir. The share of revius yayin for a nazir. Now, Rashi brings, how do you go ahead and get from a solid to a revius, which is a liquid. So you would go ahead and take the chatzanim, the shells, and the zagim, and put them in the wine, and whatever displaces revius, that's the share. Now, there's a big machlokus over here. What exactly is the share achila? The share shtia we say is revius. Share achila, of course, machlokus rishonim. There's a share that says the achila for nazir to get malchus is also revius. In other words, eat grapes. You say it's a kazayas. It's machlokes rishonim whether it's what it's a kazayas or a revius. In other words, this Gemara now when it says revius, is it only going on shtia? Is it only going on drinking, or it's also going on eating? That if you eat a share of another of grapes of revius, you'll be chayiv also malchus. So it's machlokes rishonim. What this revius means? Does it mean shtia, or does it also mean what Does it also mean achila? So that's the share of geffen. Te'ena. What's the share of te'ena? Is kegregris. We know the Indian haitzas oichlin and Shabbos, guys. The share is a dried fig. You take out a dried fig, you carry that in Shabbos, you be chayev for haitzah, or arba amas prusarab, haitzah Shabbos. Rimoin. What's the share of rimoin? That nan kol kli balibatim shiurim kirimoinim. All the shiurim of the balibatim shiurim rimoinim. Okay, outside. You have a kli. Either one way or the other. Let's pick one. Let's say the kli is tamei. In order to go ahead and the kli is tamei, you have to break the kli. Kli cheres has to lose its shame kli. How do you lose shame kli? You have a hole. Now, let's say you're a regular guy, and the hole is the size of an olive, but you can still fit lemons in it, right? So it's still possible to use. It has a usage. Since it has a usage, it's still considered a kli, so it's still tamei. At which point in time does it lose its share tumah? When you can be moitzi rimoin, a pomegranate. That's the share. So when it says rimoin over here, it's the share that a kli has to lose its share tumah. That's the way. There's however, this is only by the kli balabatim, guys. By a keli of an umin, a keli of it's a filu zayas, even a kolshu. It's going to go ahead right and. But Rashi brings, guys. Kerimoin. That nikev kimoitz remain shame kli. Allah has shame kli on it. Umekabel tuma lefisha balabayis chos al kelov because he has rachmanis and he's still going to use it. Ukshimoitz zeisim who mishtamish b'rimonim. And when it's the hole's big enough to take out olives, he'll use it for rimonim. Avol kli umin sho'oimed imache tar b'nek of kolshu. That's even kolshu will be tar because he can't use it. Okay, weiter. Eretz says shemen udvash, right? Eretz, or take out the word dvash. Eretz shekol shiur kezayis. Eretz that all shiur roi kezayis. Faith tomorrow kol shiur sakadaita cha'ika hani darminon. You just gave me a whole bunch that's not kezayis and remind him and teina. Elaima say sheroiv shiur kezayis. Most of the shiurim are what? Most of the shiur kezayis. Dvash. Now dvash here does not mean bees honey, guys. It means date honey, right? So it's talking about date honey. Dvash. That's why you might be familiar to you. This is the size what on Yom Kippur. The shear what is not the shear of Ksayas, is not the shear of a Beitza. It's the shear of a Kesev Eskasa. We had a Machloikas with it's less than a Beitza. We passed it's less than a Beitza. We brought down Shulchan Aruch, and with that we said it's Gasa. It's less than a Beitza, and this is the shear to be Chayiv Koris. What and we made the chilik between what eating and Yishuv Adas to take the edge off, right? You know, by this din of Inui. There's no din of, there's not. And the issa is not to eat on Yom Kippur. This is to pain yourself on Yom Kippur. This is to pain yourself, and this is the share of pain. Ad kedei kach. Okay, weiter. Alma, what do you see? Deraisa in it. We see all these are deraisa. All these are. So why do you tell me it's lachem Sinai? Says them over Tisbra. Shiurim mikasivi. Doesn't none of these guys? If I wake you up in the middle of the night and you wake up and say, "Oh, the pasuk says chita soira," oh, that's what it means. Based on Menuga. It doesn't say it openly.
Even the geffen is not one grade.
It doesn't.
It's enough to make a reveal.
Right.
It's not even giving the right share. It's representing something. Like
yeah.
It's a representation. Like we might.
Okay, so
that's an actual thing, but a geffen is not. It's only representation.
Correct. Well, so is Teina. I mean, so is everything over here. Chita is a representation also.
Yeah, they're representations. They're not even the actual.
Ella hilchas ninu. It's halacha mashbi Sinai. The Kra smachta ba'almahu. And the Kra, they found all these halacha mashbi Sinai, and they found support from these psukim where to be not the Rabbanan, but where you can find it in the Torah. So that takes care of shiurim. Now we said three things: shiurim. We said chatzitza, and we said mechitza, correct? Now we're going to do the second one, chatzitza. So when you think of a chatzitza, you think of the mikvah, right? Which is exactly right. Person goes to the mikvah, they can't have anything going ahead and being a partition between themselves and the water. So now, what's the din of chatzitza? What's the halacha mashmi sinai? Kedimar kasha. Chatzitza and the raisa in the same kasha that we just said by shiurim. It's the raisa, the chsiv. It's this v'rachatz b'saroi b'mayim. What is that? V'rachatz b'saroi b'mayim. There should be nothing between him and the water. You should be able to go ahead and the water should touch his skin. And to the Gemara, Kiyasi Hilchasa the Sa'arai. The Hilchasa is not speaking about his skin; it's speaking about his hair. That's possible chatzitza in the hair. And what's the lachem mishinai kid Rabbi Barachana? No Rabbi Barachana. Nima achas. If you have one here, kishura that is tied. Chaytzetzes. That's going to be a chatzitza. Shalish ain't a chaytzetzes. Now, what's the din? If you have one here and you make a knot in it, you can go ahead and make it here very tight, so the water can't get in. If you have three, it's too hard. So when you make a knot on a three here, you're still going to have the water's going to have to get in. Shtayim, but you have two here's. Any idea, right? Any idea? So I don't know. So I don't know. Okay, so now we said so. Same any idea. Now, Freddy Marakash. So you told me that Allah must be seen. You told me there's a chatzitza by here. Saranami deraisa. It's not Allah must be seen. Meaning, I haven't opened a pasuk that says you're here as a chatzitza. Where's that pasuk? L'chsiv v'rochatz es b'sarei b'mayim. What is es b'sarei, guys? Es hatavel b'sarei. That is ancillary to his skin. What's ancillary to his skin? Umaynehu sarai. So you can't tell me that Allah must be seen. I said, tell me sayer. I got a pasuk that tells me sayer. And for the Gemara, kiyasi hilchasa. When is the hilchas? Kam l'chad Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says Rabbi Yitzchak the following: Dvar Torah, meaning Torah shebal peh, ruboy umakbid alav chaytzitz. If you two components, guys, to be a chatzitza midaraisa, you have to have majority, either majority of your skin or majority of your hair. Good. And your makbid, it bothers you. You need those two components. If you're missing one or the other, if you have a miyat and you're makbid, or you have a rove and you're not makbid, it's only the rabbanan. Good. Now so this halacha must be seen is coming for a kula. V'Torah ruboy umakbid of chaytzitz u'she'ena makbid of ena chaytzitz. V'gazru al ruboy the chacham v'goyza on roiv she'ena makbid mishum roiv hamakbid. V'al mimutoy hamakbid mishum ruboy hamakbid. Okay. In other words, if as long as you have one or the other to rabbanan, so Allah is what the chumrah is two things: rubai and makbid. You need those two things. If you're missing one, it's only the rabbanan. Now the Gemara says something. What happens? You have none. What happens? It's miyut and you're not makbid. Miyut, it's not roiv, and you're not makbid. So let's say just like by roiv umakbid with goiza roiv beinu makbid and miyut makbid, let's go ahead and be geyser. Famous kasha. Says the Gemara, he gufu gezeira. Roibu makbid, roibu eina makbid, roibu makbid, and miyat and makbid is a gezeira. But I know nakim and a gezeira. You can't make a gezeira. Therefore, it's okay. So the Allah Chamash B'Sinai is roibu makbid. The chitzin hadam oren that we just said. The dinam chitza that it's 10 tefachim is Allah Chamash B'Sinai. Fred the Gemara, Hanichel Rabbi Yehuda, who needed this halacha to teach me 10. Very good. Ela Ramei, Michael Nema. Guys, where did Ramei know 10 from? For the sichacha on top of the orange, right? He knew it from a pasuk. So what does he use the halacha mashmesina for? He has the schach being the kruvim with their wings over the orange. That's where he knows it from. That it's 10 tefachim. That the schach over an area of 10 tefachim, right? Because it's 60, 20, a third. Great. So how do you know that? Says the Gemara, Kiyasi hilchasa legud, the din of good achis and good asik. We have walls that can go up or go down. We had good asik, guys. You had an existing wall. We saw the imudim, it goes up, and good achis was it goes down. Pitikra yer v'soisim, you have an achsadra, and you're going to view. Can you carry the achsadra as a carmelist? We're going to view all the walls going like over here. You view this wall over here by Shragi and Mendy, it would go come right down over there. But actually, that's not good over there. That's good. You see that was the pitikra over there. We get rid of Avrami and Meir and Mordechai. Boom, coming down. I don't know. I don't understand. Anyway, so we have over here. So that, the din of good, the din of lavud. I say lavud, guys. If you don't know lavud by now, I'll tell you. You thought I was going to say something not nice, right? I was. Three tefachim. Anything that's less than 3 tefachim, we consider clothes, right? Lavud and doifen akuma. You might remember anything that's within a wall, within 4 amas, we're going to go ahead and fold over the wall. That's what Allah Chamash teaches me. Okay, next piece of Gemara is a little involved, but I made a little bit cards. Of course, I didn't make enough because I didn't expect such a crowd, but I have cards here. We can get them out. going to do this on these cards. I'm going to put it on the screen, and everyone's going to go home happy. So Ari, you give that to this oilam, Baruch this oilam. Baruch this for you. We're in business, guys. You can see. The oil you can see. Yes. No, it'd be much more complicated if just read the Gemara. You know, you'd all sit there. There'd be a deathly silence over the crowd, and you'd go home and say, "Okay, how was share? Okay, everyone okay, it's good. Everyone has. Okay, good. Okay, guys, look at the chart. Look at the chart. You just told me there's a loch of walls. How many walls do you need for sukkah? How many walls do you need for sukkah? Here's your machlokes. Going down, Rabbanan say 2 walls plus a tefach. In other words, 2 full walls that are 7 tefachim long. Guys, 7 again. The share of a sukkah is 7 tefachim. So 2 walls each is 7 tefachim, and the 3rd wall afilu tefach. That's the Rabbanan. Underneath the Rabbanan says of Shimon, 3 walls and a tefach. Ari, do you have one of these things? Good. You have 3 walls and a tefach. Now, what's the machlokes? What's the machlokes predicated upon? So the machlokes is whether we say yesh ein lemikra or yesh ein lemesiris. Now, there's in the Torah, sometimes the way it's read and sometimes the way it's written conflict with each other. So, for example, when it says pasukos with a vav, but it's mashma without the vav, it's mashma 1. With the vav, it's mashma 2. It's a plural. So what do you go after? Do you go after the way it's written, or do you go after the way it's read? So in other words, when there's a conflict between the way it's read, guys, a kasiv and a kri. When you have a conflict between them, what do you go after? What takes primacy? Is it the way it's read or the way it's written? So now, if you go after the way it's written, guys, we have 2 singular lashons, 1, 2, and then we have a double lashon. So in other words, we have 2 singles and a plural. If you go after the way it's written, that would give me a total lot of what? Give me 4, right? 1, 2 is 4. Good. Now I need 1 for itself. That gives me 3, right? That gives me 3. And I have lachamash misinai to tell me that one of those 3 can be a tefach. So take a look at the chart. I did a few on the chart. Yeshem l'mesoris, right? The Rabbanan. You start off with 4. Why are you starting with 4? You have 2 singles and a double. 2 singles, double is 4. Minus 1 for itself. Minus to tell me there's such thing as a sukkah. Now you have 3. Then you have lachamash misinai. It tells me those 3, 2 of them, and 1 can be a tefach. So that's in the parentheses. Reb Shimon underneath, who holds 3 in a tefach, guys, he says yeshem lemikra. You go after the way it's read. So all the way it's read is basukas. We don't care the way it's written. So it's 6 because the way it's read is a plural. So 2 each is 6. So now if you start off with 6, I need 1 for itself, but that's minus 2 because each one is 2, right? It gives me 4. Now I have 1 for lachamash misinai, right? So therefore you have 3, and that's what you get. 3 minus 4, 3 plus 1 of those 4 should be a tefach. That's the first way to learn pshat in the machlokes in the Rabban and Reb Shimon is whether you say yeshem lemikra, yeshem lemesiris. Did everyone understand that? Okay, good. Now there's 3 other ways to learn pshat in machlokes. Let's go down the line. Everyone holds what? Kuliyam, look at the top. Everyone holds what? Yeshem lemikra. So if yeshem lemikra, you got 6, right? Okay, 6 minus 2 gives you 4. Why? Because you need 1 for what it's what? Mikra, it's red. So it's now you start off with 6. You take away 2 for the way you had it right now because itself. You get 4. Yes. Now you have 4. I need 1 to tell me for the schach. Schacha boyikra. You need 1 for the schach. So that gives me 4 minus 1 is 3. 3 and Allah Hamash B'Sinai deducts 1 more. 2 equals a tefach. So according to Rabbanon, you need a pasuk for the kra. Therefore, it gives me an extra deduction. Whereas Rav Shimon holds it does not need a pasuk. So he holds the same way, guys. Rav Shimon in the will be the same, guys. I didn't write anything because it's exactly the same as the first column. Take a look. Don't look at me. Look at the columns. Guys, look at the second column. Because go back to the first column. Again, the way it's read, it's 6, 2 minus 4, 3 plus a tefach. Good? Because he holds that schach doesn't need a pasuk. Okay? What? What? Well, again, the one for itself is you get rid of the pasuk. Then you have a deduction. You don't get not a whole pasuk, right? Now, what? He says, he says that sukkah means sach. Sukkah. The question is sukkah. Sukkah means sach. It's a bigger question. How do you know? No, it's a bigger question in this whole Gemara. How's it the fun house? Guys, we began. Well, I'm going to answer this in a second. He's asking a very good question, or I made a good question out of it. We'll see. I'm saying it's very geschmack. No, I'm saying, guys, the first Rashi in the Masechta said Al Shem Schach. Yeah, we're using this for the walls. Okay, we'll get back to it. Great, written, really good question. Now, so look, guys, next one, Kuliyam Messiris. Yes, Kuliyam Yeshem Messiris. That means what? You go after the way it's written. So what are you starting off with? Starting with 4, right? So him, now he holds the same way he holds in column number 1. The halacha Moshe Sinai comes to deduct. So you started off with 4, you need 1 for itself, you got 3. Halacha Moshe Sinai deducts 1 to tefach. In other words, I didn't write it over here because it's the exact same thing as column number 1. Yes? Now, however, Reb Shimon says, no, the halacha comes to be moisif. The halacha comes to add on, not to detract. So good. You start with 4, because yesh aim le mesiris, 1 plural and 2 singular. You got 4. Minus 1 for itself gives me 3. Halacha Moshe Sinai comes to add on. Now I got what? 3 plus a tefach. Geschmack. Finally, the last teretz. No, everyone holds yesh aim le mesiris. Good. That means you go after the way it's written. And everyone says the halacha is the gareya. Good. So now, I start off with 4, because that's what it's again. Yeshem and Cyrus. I got 2 singles and a double. Minus 1 is what I need for itself. That gives me 3. What does the halacha do? 2 and a tefach, right? So it's gareya. Because ein darshan tchilas. We're not going to darshan the one that you need for itself. I'm not going to darshan. So it remains 4 minus 1. Good. Meaning, you needed 1 for itself, right? So needed 1 for itself. That's it. But no, this Messiah only take away 1. We're going to take away the 1. 4 minus 1.
Why do sometimes we take away 2?
Because that's the Yeshem Lemikra. Because it's always the way it's read. It's always a 2.
Right. So
We never. The only way to take a 2 is when there's no 1. When there's a 1, we take away the 1. Because that's the pasuk. The pasuk is singular. Now, according to Reb Shimon, guys, again, 4 is Kos Yeshem Lemesiris. Guys, starting with a 4. Minus 1 for itself, correct? Equals 3, 2 and a tefach. But he darshans tchila, meaning he doesn't take away that 1. So it's 4 minus 0. He darshans, in other words, the one he needs for himself, he also darshans. The one you need for himself, he also darshans. So look, I put on the bottom, I made a mistake initially. But look, I put on the bottom, 4 minus 0 equals 4. And the third one is gareya. Is there a tefach? Those are the 4 different ways to explain the machlekes between Rabbanan and Rav Shimon. Let's see it inside, and we'll be good. Says the Gemara inside. Tana Rabbanan. Ushein l'shos. The funnest we said that, and if one of the psulim in the Mishnah was if it does not have 3 walls. Tana Rabbanan. Shtayim kilchasan. 2 walls that are 7 tfachim. Ushlishis, and the third wall afilu tefach. That's the chachamim. Rav Shimon Aimen, no. Shalosh kilchasan. You need 3 kilchasan. Urevius afilu tefach, and the revius is afilu tefach. But my kanifli, what's this first machlokes? Rabbanan savri yesh aim lemesiris. You go after the way it's written, and Rav Shimon savi yesh aim lemikra. Rabbanan savi yesh aim lemesiris. Basukos, notice without the vav. Basukos without the vav. That's 2. Basukos, the third pasuk has a vav. You'll see Rashi for the pasukim. That's a total of 4. Harikan arba. You have a total of 4. Dal chad legufei, minus 1 of the 4 for itself. Pashalu tilsa leaves you over with 3. Shtaim kilchasa, 2 of them 7 tfachim. Vyasi hilchasa, v'garasa l'shlishis, v'ukmi atefach. And comes along what the halacha Moshe Sinai, and it takes that third wall and makes it afilu tefach. How are we doing, guys? Good. It's good. Now, Reb Shimon Savawat, yesh aim le mikra. So we're going to end up with 6. Basukas. Even though there's no vav, we're going to read it as if there was plural, right? 2. Harikan, sheish. Dal, chad, kra, legufei, take away 1 for itself. Pashlu, arba. You got 4 left over. Shalosh, kilcha. Because every one over here, if you go after the way it sounds, it's always going to be a 2.
Right, so why are you taking away 2 for itself? You should only need 1 for itself.
One pasuk, you're taking away a whole pasuk.
Sukkah for itself.
2, 2, 2. I take away 1. How much do I got?
A whole entire.
Pasuk, right? You take away a whole pasuk.
Not a single one.
Yeah, good. Now, very good. No problem. Anyway, Harikan Sheish. Dal Chad Krol Gufei Pashlu Arba. You got 4. Sholish Kil Chason. Asig Hil Chason. V'garasan Lervias Fugmet Tefach. That was the first way to explain. That was the first box. Be by same in the second box. The Kuliyama Yesh Aim Le Mikra. So everyone starts off with 6. V'hacha b'hakamifli. Masav a Sichra Ba'ikra. That's so you start off with 6. Take away 2 for itself is 4. Minus 1 for what? For the schach gives you 3. And then comes Lo Lachnosh Sinai, and from the third wall puts it on a tefach. Umasav and Rav Shimon holds Sichaloi Boyikra. Doesn't need a pasuk, so he remains the same as he did before. Yesh Aim Lenikra, the way it's written, only take away 1, and the Halacha Sinai will go ahead and give him the third wall will be what? A filu tefach. Viba Yasema to Kuliyama Yesh Aim Lemesiris. No, everyone goes after Mesiris, meaning you can have 4. Even Rav Shimon's going to start with 4. The halacha comes to take that wall and make it and detract. Therefore, it's what? It's 4, and you're going to take away 1 for the itself. It's going to be 3 minus the third wall is going to be less. It adds on. You only have what? 2 walls and a tefach. You're going to add a third wall, and now you'll have 3 and a tefach. By saying finally the Kulyama Kiyasi Hilchasol Gareya Yeshem Mesiris. Yeshem Mesiris, you're going to start off with the way you can start with 4. And also Gareya, it's going to minus. In other words, do we darshan the pasuk for itself as a drasha? If you do, then you're not going to minus 1. So guys, I'm starting off with 4. And I'm remaining with 4 because the one that you take away for yourself, I'm darshaning, right? So it's 4 minus 0. Right, and then I take a 1 for the Hilchas Gareya. The third wall should be what? Should be filu tefach. Okay, that's the chart. One more pshat. Here's the reason for Rabbi Shimon. The pasuk says the sukkah tiel etzel yomam. A sukkah should be for protection during the day. A choyrei from the heat. Ule mechaseh to protect. Ule mistar to give refuge. Mizarim from storms. Umimata from rains. Tefach, and okay, stop right there. Let's see Rashi on this. Lemachsul and Mistar, beloy arba mechitzos, lav machsul mizaramu. Without 4 chitzos, the rain's coming in, guys. Without 4 mechitzos, the rain is coming in. Mashiv es azoram derech doifen aparitz. It's going to go ahead what and put it in derech aparitz. So in the mela. It doesn't mean you need 4 walls, but it means you need dafka 3 walls because you need some protection. If you can have 2 walls plus a tefach, you're not going to have any protection. That's how Shimon knows it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sheets of kidnap, sure. Keep the sheets, very good.